So there's a lot of things you have to do there. Part of it is tax policy. Part of it is actually what we do in terms of skills training and education. So in my judgment, the reason we have so much income inequality is really twofold. The first is the world has changed really rapidly. Globalization and technological innovation have created the kind of dynamics we've seen historically, right? Whenever there's a lot of innovation, a relatively small number of people disproportionately benefit from it because they happen to have the right skills at the right time, right? And they can leverage those skills and capture a large share of the wealth. And that's what's really happened to this country in the last 20 or 30 years. And that's happened before. And the way you start leveling that out is first you get at tax policy, right? To make sure you're taxing people fairly, which we're not in this country, right? We allow people who are investors to pay about half the tax rate as workers through a capital gains rate, which is dramatically lower than the rate on ordinary income. That's an outdated system. We don't need that. That system was created when no one invested, and we needed an incentive for people to invest. Today, everyone invests. The markets in the United States of America are as liquid and robust as possible. There's private and public capital everywhere. Those people do not need a lower tax rate to invest. So one of the things that makes the situation worse is the fact that we have this tremendous concentration of wealth, and those people, I call them the investor class, are fundamentally paying much less tax than everyone else because they make most of their money through capital gains. We have to stop treating them like endangered species and trying to protect them all the time. I have nothing against them. Right, I was an investor and an entrepreneur myself, but we should pay the same tax rate, right? So I want to raise the capital gains rate to equal ordinary income. That is the single biggest loophole in the U.S. tax code, and I want to close it. So that'll be part of the way, but that's not going to solve the problem. You only solve the problem by encouraging investment capital in other parts of the country. Last year, 80% of the professionally managed venture capital in the U.S. was invested in 50 counties in this country, out of almost 3,100 counties. So 80% of the smart money went to 1.6% of the counties. Yet we have 80% of our kids living in counties where the jobs they're getting created are not as good as the jobs used to exist. So I would want to change that. I took a step to change that when I was in the Congress, and I passed this opportunity zone legislation, which creates real financial federal tax incentives for people to invest in distressed communities. I think it's going to be transformative. The Delaney administration is going to require 25% of the government contractors in this country to have half their employees in distressed communities. I want to double the earned income tax credit in distressed communities, and I want, as part of a national infrastructure program, have a disproportionate allocation to distressed communities. That'll start turning around a lot of places, which will get at this income inequality issue.